This video we will talk about string processing. Addition to what we learned, the standard string IO, that's the IO string library, or the file string, the F string library. In addition to that, we have the in-memory IO. So that's what we call the string processing. So the string processing, fundamentally, you have two different kinds. So you can see here, that's the istringstream. So you can know they are processing for the input. So you have your istringstream object, then maybe you can break into multiple string input. Or you can have an ostringstream. So you can see the O, that's for the output. So you can add more string into the ostringstream object. So then we can convert to a string, then you can see out to the console. In order to use the string or the in-string or ostringstream, you need to include the string library. So that's, you can see this as that is string. In order to use that, also they have to combine also with the IO string header. So the first example, we will see what is the ostringstream object. So they were using a string object to store the output data. So after we create the ostringstream, so just like we do the cout, so you can using the insertion operator to add more output to the cout. So the same thing, your ostringstream can using this insertion operator to add more. So then they have the string member function. They can convert an ostringstream object into a string. In example 11, we will see how should we create an ostringstream object. So we will see how we will output the information into the console using the ostringstream object. So in the example 11, you can see here we can create the ostringstream object we call output string. So that's we include the library including the string, IOstring, and the string. So here, after you create your output string object, so then earlier, like we said, you can using the insertion operator to add more string into the string object. So then actually they will just append it to the end one by one. So that's why here we have string 1, string 2, and 5 different strings. So later we will show in the console our output of several different data type. So then we put that all in one ostring object. So we have double value, int value, and the address of the int. So that's why we create the double number and int number. So when we want to format our output, so that's why our double will be after our display here, right? So then we will have integer after our integer display. So then we'll display the address after the int. So right, so that's why you see here we have the output string object. We're using the insertion operator, have each string, they one by one to add into our output string object. So then one thing is you can not only insert the string into that, you also can insert double number, integer number, and even your reference for your object. But here, when you insert that into the output string, it is an ostringstream object. So actually, they are not direct can using the cout to display. So then, if we really want to display the output string, display in the console. So then here, the first thing we need to call the member function strstring. So this one we will convert all the output string, all the content in once into a big long string. So that's why in the console we can display like that. So that's output string content. So you see that's earlier we add one by one, right? So you have your double value, int value, then you have your integer address. So actually your output string you can just continue to add more. So that's why here you can just using the output string you do the insertion operator. You can just have a constant string to add that in. So then they just continue to add. So then of course you see once you try to convert that into the string, so then they just display the whole thing. So we can consider the ostringstream kind of is a collection. You can put everything in a once you want to display later, because sometimes we need to do process one by one. We may not be able to display yet. So that's why you kind of here, the output string kind of is a collection. You can insert one by one. So then at the end, you can just display call the str member function to output the whole content into a string. No matter earlier, you see we insert that as a double or the integer, but when they insert into the ostring string, they will all convert become a character. So that's become a big string. So this example is we're using the ostring string. So basically, they just a container for all the information you put that in. So at the end, you can convert to output to a long big string. So then the next one we want to see what is the istringstream. So then you can think about istringstream just like before when you do the cin. You can insert into the value 1. Or you can add more. You can have maybe I have a double variable called the double 1. So that's for cin, right? So the same thing when you're using the istringstream, we also have this operator function as well. So that's why we can try to parsing the value using the space or the new line. So anyway, when they see any white space, they will break the token. So then we'll see how should we create the istringstream. So istringstream object actually is the input data from a string in the memory. So then the data is stored in that object. So the input from the istringstream object, they can be identical to input from any file as well. So you can read from the file input as well. So that the end of the string is interpreted in the istringstream object as the end of file. So that depends on how you want to store the object. So we're using the example 12. So this example 12, we will create a istringstream. So the first thing we will see, you still need to include the library iostring and the string. So now here we just see how we will form an istringstream. Like earlier we say, your istringstream, actually you already have something, right? So when you create, you will create that, the constructor you need to specify a string to create the istringstream object. Because one thing is, like earlier we say, your istringstream, you see you want to process the input, right? So you need to have something already. So that's why we can parsing that to the different variable. So that's why here your istringstream, you need to get the string you already have. So here we create one string. Actually, this string we just say we want to test. We have input a word, space test is the string. So 1, 2, 3, you can see that's an integer. So then it's a double number. Then you have a character. So that's why here we will have the one string already exists. So then we will try to using the operator to break down into different variable. So here we will see one string, two string, then I have integer, I have a double number and a character. So that's why you see here they already by the order has those things. So when you want to break it down, so here when we put that all into the input string, so then you just need to use the extraction operator. So that's why they will read from the input string. So that's say the istringstream to breaking down one by one. So that's why the input go to the string, test go to the string 2. So then we have the integer, then we have double number, we have character. So then when you try to display, you will see they will just extract one by one correctly. But supposedly, sometimes when we create a long string, we put into the istring stream. So when we want to break down into a token, actually we don't know when they will finish. So like this one now, we kind of have 5 variables for the match, right? So now since you can see here, supposedly all the input, all the content from the input string will already break down into the token, all those 5 variables. So afterward, our input string actually become empty. Good. So that's why here we will show you. Since our input string should be empty, right? But then actually I create another variable. I try to extract from the input string to another variable. So then actually that's the other member function from the input string we should use. So this one is when we try to extract from the input string, but they don't have any value inside there. So then actually they will return. If you try to check if they say input string is good, they will return false. So that's why when we have many value in the input string, so then we don't know exactly how many, we can write a while loop. So we can continue to extract to the variable, but also we can using the good member function to check. So if the good is false, so actually that means the input string is empty. I don't have the value. So that's why here actually they won't give you any error. Then, but your value actually maybe they just empty. So that's why here we were using the good member function to check if when I continue to extract the data token from the input string, do I have invalid data or not? And also sometimes you will wonder, right? Because here is right, I already know they have 2 strings, the integer, floating number, and character. So that's why I can have the correct data type to match my input string. But sometimes when we read from the file or read from the user input, when we break down into the token, actually we are not sure. So that's why sometimes when we have the input from the istring or any string, you have multiple tokens. Most of the time, actually, we use the string to read from the token. Then afterward, if you know this string 1, 2, 3, you want to convert to the integer, so then you convert to the integer. So then this one 4.7 actually we should read as a string first. So then we can convert to double. Right, so that's why actually here I just want to finish this module using this video. So then I just continue to talk about the numeric conversion function. So every time when you have string, you want to convert different numeric data type. Actually, you can just using different member function. So that's here we show you. So if you have a string you want to convert to an integer, you just need to call s to i. So then you convert your string to the int. So then you can do s to l, so you convert to the long number. On the other hand, you can do unsigned long, or unsigned long. On the other hand, that's for the integer, right? And also sometimes we have the floating number. So then you will do the s to f, so that's a float, or s to d, so that's a double number. So then, or you want to do the long double. So this way, sometimes when we process the user input, it's easier we just read as a string first. So then we will convert to the related or the corresponding data type we want. So this one is we call the C++ numeric conversion function.